We are rolling here. Robin, I appreciate your time and thank you for joining. When we were talking about Hack Your Health and KetoCon and you were telling me your story, I immediately told Mike when I got off the call, I was like, you have an awesome story and how you got into health and why you're so passionate about Hack Your Health and the KetoCon event. So I thought it'd be perfect to do a podcast, not only to help promote the event, because we love everything behind it. We love all the speakers that you're getting involved. And that's something that Mike and I are passionate about, where we love sharing people's stories like yours. So can you introduce yourself and let everyone know who you're involved with?
Who I'm involved with. Sure. So
Personally.
I'm not telling you who I'm involved with. That's private. Uh, no one. Yeah. So I own a company called Q1 Productions that hosts an annual wellness event that we recently rebranded to Hack Your Health. I have been doing this event since 2017 under the brand of KetoCon, the science and stories of keto. And when we first started doing this event in 2017, it was small. It was in 2017, if you ordered a bunless burger, people looked at you sideways. It's not like that anymore, obviously. But 2017, 18, and 19, and the event just exploded. We just grew really, really fast. So we started in 2017. We had less than 600 people there. I think it was the exact number is 539, and we had 36 vendors. And by 2020, as we were planning for 2020, well, let's just go back to 2019. By 2019, we had 3,000 people there and 120 vendors. So it just like blew up. And that was partly because the word keto was like the most searched word on Google, and everybody wanted to lose weight with keto. But there was so much happening in that space related to research, and there were medical professionals using keto to help people with their health problems. And it just blew up. And for me personally, I found it because I had struggled with all sorts of health related issues that I understand now were a result of insulin resistance. I went through even my early childhood. I remember struggling with food. So it evolved into food addiction for me. It evolved into hormonal stuff for me. I was a mess. But when I was in my late 40s, I discovered low carb and Dr. Atkins. And that kind of got me down the path of trying to understand what was going on with me physically. I always thought it was just because I couldn't lose weight, but it was obviously a lot more than that. And I found a lot of success once I found the ketogenic diet. And I wasn't necessarily in like therapeutic ketosis, but I was very, very, very low carb. I wasn't limiting the amount of fat or protein I was eating, but I was healing. And so with that, the food addiction stuff went away because I was no longer obsessing about when I was going to eat, what I was going to eat. And anyway, in 2016, I was in a ketogenic Facebook group called Keto Evangelist. And I saw a post in that group. Brian Williamson was the founder of all of that. He's local to the area. I saw a post looking for a program manager. At the time, I was working in treasury management. I worked for Bank of America, and I was traveling 3 weeks out of the month. It was crazy, but I was really looking for a way to get out of corporate America and do something that I could feel some passion for and that I could get some fulfillment out of, because I didn't feel like in banking I was really making a difference. I was making money for big companies, certainly not for myself. Well, I was making money for myself, but they were making more money than I was, obviously. So anyway, when I saw this post, I reached out to Brian and I thought, I probably don't have the skill set for this, but I don't know how to transition my skill set to do anything else. So I'll talk to him. And Brian and I had a conversation. We hit it off. And 30 days later, I resigned at Bank of America, just like that, jumped ship. Probably stupid, but that's just kind of how I do things. And there was no promise for any compensation, but there was a vision on what we were going to build. And so I have to say that I would not recommend someone young with children doing something like this. It was a huge risk, but my kids were already through with college. I had already paid for everything I was going to pay for, or paying off everything that they did. And I had a 401k, so I had a little bit of flexibility to do it. So anyway, I started working with Brian, and about 90 days in, we thought, wow, we've got all these Facebook groups, these podcasts, these social media accounts. There's more than 500,000 people combined in all of this. We should do a live event. So I had never produced a live event before. The biggest thing I had ever done was like a family dinner. So, but I had been a speaker at events, large treasury management events. So I knew what speakers expected. And luckily, I had also worked trade show booths with Bank of America. So I knew what the vendors expected too. So that's how I backed into it. And it very quickly became my project of what we were, of all these different things that we were doing and all the different business lines we were building. So we did the first event in 2017. And then I've already told you what happened since then, but then COVID happened. And by now, of course, I was earning a living and enjoying what I was doing and learning a lot. By COVID happened, and Brian said to me, we've got about 90 days and I'm going to have to shut everything down. So what happened was, it was kind of like overnight everybody who experienced this in business during COVID knows this. Overnight, revenue stopped. And it was March, but the event was in June. And we knew we weren't going to be able to have the event, but the contracts related to the event, so with the venue, the contract reads, if you cancel, meaning me, if I cancel, then I forfeit everything we've paid. Well, the event, it was paid for. If I wait for them to cancel, then I don't forfeit everything. It's a percentage. So it was March, and it was very clear that we weren't going to be able to have the event, but the city of Austin, the state of Texas, and COVID and all these different things were going on, and no one was pulling the trigger. And I was like, I've got 3,000 people. I've got all these companies. How many of them are actually going to be able to attend? And they're all waiting for an answer from me. So finally, I pulled the trigger and I canceled the event. And the plan was to do it again the following year, of course, but we didn't know we weren't going to be able to. But with Brian just decided that he's got kids to put through college. He's going to have to get go back to having a real job. And I said, I'm not ready to quit. And I wasn't ready to quit for a lot of reasons. One was because I did not want to go back into banking. But two was because really, I felt like I had found a place where I was making a difference. It was on a small scale, but I felt like what I was doing was helping people. And that was what was missing with my previous career with Bank of America. So Brian and I put together an agreement, and I acquired everything from him. Another decision that I wouldn't recommend someone younger than I do, but I just felt like it was the right thing for me. I wasn't ready to walk away. I felt like there was a lot more work to be done, and I had no idea it was going to take 2 years to come back. I had no idea. And it's probably a good thing, because if I had realized, I probably wouldn't have done it. So that's what we did. We drew up a contract, and I took over, and I started rebranding. We had a coaching division, a product line, a certification platform, and the event. And so we won. There were too many restrictions on live events. And we came back in 2022. And the backstory to that is I honored all of the investments made in the event. So all of the vendors and all of the ticket holders had a spot at the event, even though I didn't have that money. So that money was paid to Keto Evangelists, not to me. So I honored all of those investments because, well, personally, I felt like it was the right thing to do. And I guess I felt like if I invested in this, that it would be clear and obvious how, I hate to use the same word again, but invested I am in making this happen. So my 401k paid for 2022.
Wow.
And so we had 1,800 people there. a lot of the vendors made it that year in 2022. We did have 2 months out, 50 of them pulled out because they either had their staff had COVID, they were having, they couldn't invest in the travel, even though we were honoring their investment in being there. There's a lot more to being an event than just, the $3,000 booth. So, but we did it. And the best part about that was everybody was so excited to be there, including our team. I mean, we're just so happy to be able to do a live event again. But the one thing that I realized that year, it was very apparent to me that I wanted to grow this event. I wanted to throw a much wider net. I really wanted to reach more people. And I felt that if we continued with the KetoCon brand, that we would limit ourselves. So I was getting feedback on social media and from companies. Well, I'm not keto. That's not a good fit for me. My customers aren't keto, so that's not a good fit for me. So we made the decision we were going to rebrand. And we had no idea how to go about doing it. My son, Ryan, who is our director of sales for exhibitor management, and he manages the exhibitors at the show. We were on a road trip to North Carolina with his wife and my granddaughter and me. And we were like hammering out names to rebrand the event. And they came up with Hack Your Health. And I was like, you know what? That's absolutely perfect. We knew it right away. I'm on my phone on GoDaddy trying to buy the URL, and which I did. And I had never paid that much for URL before, but we did it. So we decided to kind of transition into it slowly. So 2023, we only changed our tagline. So we changed it from KetoCon, the science and stories of keto, to KetoCon, Hack Your Health, with the full intention of this year flipping it to Hack Your Health by KetoCon. And that's our brand going forward. And what that enabled us to do, I really don't know how I was smart enough to figure this out. It might have just been my fear of doing things too quickly, and it just worked out. But it just felt right that if we did the transition slowly, that we wouldn't lose the following that we had. We would continue to grow, market share. We would continue to gain momentum in marketing with the new brand, and we would be able to have significant growth. And I wouldn't have to change all of our social media channels right away. And you know what I mean?
Right.
So that's what we did, and it worked. Thank God it worked. So that's kind of where we are now.
That's so perfect too, because I feel like if you go with the latest fad, because it was keto for the longest time, and right now as carnivore, that's like the buzzword. Everyone's using carnivore.
Right.
There's going to be another word,
Yes.
another fad. So Hack Your Health is perfect because it encompasses not only diet but sauna, the cold plunge, all those vendors that you're going to have at the event. It's like, how do you optimize your health to be the most healthiest human possible?
Right, exactly. And that's really, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. What I'm trying to do is I look at things for what I'm interested in. What do I want to learn more about? What's the value of this type of activity or that type of exercise or this type of equipment? And there's still an underlying theme of metabolic health, though, because for me, you could do all these different things, but if you're eating crap, none of it's going to do you any good. You're not going to you may have small gains, but I mean, if you're living the standard American diet, you can sit in a red light all day long. You're not going to improve your health. You may have lower inflammation, but that's about it. And I'm really interested in quality of life and not only living longer, but living well longer. So I don't want to be one of those people that spends the last 10 years of my life in a chair or in a bed. I do want to live the extra 10, 20 years, but I want to live it well. And I think that if I can reach people early in their journey, in their health journey, then I'll have the biggest impact. Because if I had had this kind of information when I was 25 or 30, I would have saved myself many years of suffering. So I feel like if we can reach people early in their health journey, then I know that I'll make a long-term difference. And if I find people or reach people that are at my stage of life and they're just beginning their health journey, I can at least help them improve the quality of their life going forward.
Yeah. As the director and the owner of the brand Hack Your Health, I imagine that comes with a lot of pressure to look and act a certain way and kind of, implement certain lifestyle changes every day and be on the trend. Do you feel that pressure? Do people, put the thumb on you if you have a bowl of ice cream or something every now and then, or what?
um, I don't know if they do that or not. If they say things about me behind my back, I don't know it. Do I feel the pressure? Sometimes, yeah, to look a certain way or yeah. But, um, I don't feel like I owe anybody any explanations. I'm really not doing this to promote myself as a person. I'm doing this because it gives me a purpose and I know it makes a difference. So I don't really care that much about what, people think I should be doing. How I look, I mean, I'm a woman, so yeah, I care. I do. I don't want to look my age, but I mean, on the other hand, I am my age. So, and I don't really believe that there's any such thing. I think there's such a thing as aging well, but you can't stop aging unless you're dead.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be dead. So here I am. I'm doing the best I can.
You look good.
Yeah.
You look great.
You said,
Thank
in my late 40s earlier, and I was like,
I'm going to be 62 in
no
August,
way.
honestly.
Wow. I'm switching to keto today.
Well, I got to tell you, the keto thing, I guess, so I still check my ketones occasionally, and, I go in and out of ketosis now. But I'm not necessarily so focused on the fat part, the fat intake of keto now. I really don't need to. I'm at my best weight. I don't have the metabolic problems that I had before. I don't have the hormonal issues. So I mainly focus on making sure I get in enough protein, and then everything else is kind of a side. So the days of keto for me, where I was worrying about making a cauliflower pizza or coming up with some, crazy recipe, I don't do that anymore. My diet is really, really simple and very clean.
I feel like I've heard that from we have a friend that's really big keto person. But they start as keto, and then they just find somewhere where they're comfortable, but it's still very much within the realm. I was going to ask you, what is your day to day kind of look like? You said you eat clean. Like, what does your diet kind of look like to maintain your homeostasis that you're at now?
Let's see. Well, today I ate lunch at about 1:00, 1:30, and I had some flat iron steak and sliced cucumbers because I love cucumbers and avocado. And I haven't eaten anything since then. So that's the other thing is I eat much less frequently than I used to, simply because I'm not hungry. But I usually eat lunch sometime between 11 and 1, and then I'll eat again late in the afternoon. But I usually don't eat after 6. I'm a very boring date. Because I sleep better if I don't, I wake up really energized. But the main staples of my diet are things like ground beef, steak, eggs, tuna fish. Sometimes I buy salmon, but I find like the quality of salmon that you can buy right now is not great. Even the wild stuff doesn't taste too good to me right now. I don't eat at restaurants very often. Like really, really simple cottage cheese and yogurt are in my refrigerator, cucumbers and avocados. That sounds really boring. Sometimes shrimp.
When I get crazy,
I
I
know.
eat shrimp.
We always talk about going out and eating with friends, and I imagine you get invited to dinners a lot too. So how do you work that in if you don't really eat at restaurants, or if you do, what are kind of the meals that you try to incorporate?
Well, I don't get invited out that often, to be
No,
honest with you.
I imagine you're going to a lot of dinners for, Hack Your Health and
No,
stuff like that.
I think she's
no,
just being
because the
humble.
event is in Austin and I live in Florida.
Okay, well, Mike and I will go to Florida and we'll go to eat dinner somewhere.
Yeah, we'll be there tonight. So
I'm actually I actually am going to be in Austin later this month for a week. And so when I'm traveling, I do eat in restaurants, if I have to, but I try to stay in an Airbnb and get stuff at the grocery store. Um, but if I go to a restaurant, I mean, it's nothing elaborate. If it depends on what they have. If they don't have red meat, I'll order chicken. Or fish. If, you know, I can never go wrong with a steak.
Yeah.
I wish I don't have anything glamorous or exciting to share with you about food. I'm just not, I just don't make a huge effort. I just deal with what I have on site. And I love dark chocolate too.
Well, I think people need to hear that because sometimes I think we can overcomplicate food, and especially for someone who is maybe on the standard American diet, or maybe they're starting to venture off into keto or look at carnivore. Sometimes it can be daunting, and hearing information for someone like you who's been into it a long time, that it's simple. It's steak, chicken, broccoli, shrimp every
Yeah.
now and then. It doesn't have to be complicated, but I think, especially in America, I feel like we can make the diet complicated. You talk about, like, I remember when I first got in keto and I was making some like enchiladas with freaking zucchini. Like, it took an hour and a half to prep the meal, and it just
Right.
overcomplicated everything. And it doesn't have to be that way.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. For me, I think it was just coming from a place of, I spent so many years obsessed with what I was going to eat, what I can eat, what I can't eat, when I'm going to eat. And then having kids, it was feeding them, um, that I probably wouldn't have been able to keep things so simple. I had just like developed an obsession. And so that part of I'm not obsessed with that anymore. So it's kind of like I eat when I'm hungry and I eat what I have. So, I go to the grocery store once a week, I get all this stuff. And then, every couple of days I look in the fridge, is there anything in there that I'm going to be able to eat tomorrow? And I take something out of the freezer and defrost it. I'm really just not an exciting person when it comes to food. And to be honest with you, that is, a freedom for me, coming from a place where I was just I was so obsessed with it before. It's a freedom for me.
yeah, we're all trapped in this
Food for entertainment.
food for entertainment, mouth pleasure, whatever you want to call it. But I've been relieved of that for very small moments in my life where you're at. And I find that I use all my resources for other things. Like I'll get really into reading or hobbies, or really just perfect a different craft, because there's a lot of time wasted of, like you said, preparing for the next meal. What am I going to do? Like having that preparation time to actually prepare the food. And it's just, what do you use all your resources for now that that's not a huge part of your life anymore?
Work.
Which is this thing.
Yeah, work. Also, in September of last year, I used to live in St. Petersburg. I moved about 40 minutes north of Tampa last year to be closer to my son and his wife and my granddaughter. So, and they just had another child 2 weeks ago. So now I have a grandson too.
Congrats.
So I do spend time with them. I do put a lot of my energy towards that. I intentionally did that so that I could be closer to them. And yeah, that's kind of like a highlight for me. I spend a lot of time with her. And actually, she will be there. They will all be there. My son, as I said earlier, runs the expo hall floor, but my granddaughter, Gracie, comes on the stage with me to say hello to everybody when we open the show. And she comes on the stage with me at the end to close the show.
That's cool.
They'll be there too.
I'm excited. I can't wait for it. We're really stoked about attending the event. What are you most excited about? Who are you most excited about hearing speak, or what vendor are you most excited about?
Let's see. I have worked on this list of speakers for so many months now, and it always happens that things pop up at the last minute. I just found out last week that I probably shouldn't say it until I actually have it on our website. We have a lot of really big personalities coming this year that I didn't know we were going to be able to orchestrate it, but it's happened. So most recently, do you know who Chris Gethin is?
Yeah.
Chris is going to be speaking at the event.
Wow.
And we're putting together a panel with Sean Wells, Chris, and Luke Story, and a couple of other people. The panel is going to be called The Energy Formula, based on the book that Sean wrote and a few other things. So I'm super excited about that. The regenerative agriculture panel is probably one of the panels that I'm most excited about, because I just see so much good coming from that, educating people on regenerative agriculture. And Brett and Harry, the guys from the Meat Mafia podcast, are moderating that panel.
Yeah.
So that should be really good. We're doing a couple of carnivore panels. Sean is speaking on both of them. One is with Bella Moss. So she is the steak and butter gal on YouTube. She's a huge personality on YouTube. So she's going to be part of that panel. Dr. Kiltz is going to be part of that panel. Sean, gosh, there's so many more. That's a big panel.
Yeah.
We just confirmed that John Jacquish is going to be speaking as well. John is the founder of the X3. Are you familiar with the X3?
Vaguely. That's more in your realm.
I have one of those. It's a platform that you stand on, and it has these resistance bands that vary in resistance. So when they're tougher to do, they're higher. They're equivalent to higher in weight, and a bar that you attach it to that you can put on your shoulders. It's pretty incredible. The amount of progress you can make in very little time, literally like cutting a 1 hour workout down to 20 minutes and still getting all that benefit. It's pretty amazing. But he is very well educated in bone health. And so he's going to be speaking about that. And so I'm really excited about that. Max Lugavere is going to be speaking this year. He's new to our event. Excited about that one. I mean, there's so many. Annette Bosworth, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Annette Bosworth. She's an internist, and she is an incredible person, very kind and very welcoming and very good at what she does. And she focuses on people who need healing and uses a ketogenic / intermittent fasting protocol to teach people how to tap into their stored energy and to improve their mitochondrial function.
Wow.
She does some fascinating work. I just really love her. So I'm really looking forward to seeing her too. There's so many people. It would be really hard for me to name them all off. Do you know Charles Mayfield from Faro Skincare?
Oh yeah, Pharaoh. I know who. Yeah.
He's going to be speaking. Oh God, I can't mention them all.
I know Carnivore Snacks is going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm excited about them being there because I want to try them. They're kind of like meat jerky snack. They have a whole bunch of stuff. The Carnivore?
In my opinion, that is the best product of that type on the market.
Really?
I've tried them all.
Oh, maybe I just need to not wait and order it then.
I would highly recommend it. It's not dry like jerky. It's also not moist, but it's almost like flaky.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Danny Vega, called it a meat pastry.
That's funny.
It kind of has like a croissant type of texture, but it's so good, it's dangerously good.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known to eat a whole bag by myself. Really, really good. And in comparison to some of the other products that are out there, puts them to shame.
There's so many products out there these days that are kind of geared towards the carnivore community.
Yeah.
How long do you see this like kind of lasting, the carnivore kick? Do you think it's a fad? Do you kind of feel like something else will come in and replace it?
Well, eventually everything does, right? But I don't think that enough people have benefited from it yet for it to fade into something else. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that need help. There's so many people out there that are not well and don't even realize how ill they are. They're just used to never feeling good. I think that people like me who came to this space that needed healing, and the ketogenic diet didn't cure everything that they needed to cure. I do think that a lot of people will transition to the carnivore diet as an elimination protocol, and then of course, integrate other things back into their diet when they're healed. But for me personally, I don't see a need to integrate those other things back into my diet. I mean, why mess with something that works?
Yeah.
What are those things? Because we talked to some keto people, and there's a couple of things they hang on to that doesn't quite allow them to heal. And if you eliminate, like go more carnivore, you do a lot better. What are those main staple things that separate?
People refuse to give up.
Yeah.
Sweeteners, even the natural sweeteners like stevia and monk fruit. I mean, there are some people who need to give those up for a period of time. It affects them differently than it might affect someone like me or you. So they have to give those up. Cheese is something that people refuse to give up. They have a hard time with nuts or something. I mean, these are kind of, if you think about it, cheese and nuts, those are kind of things that you can eat mindlessly, and not really be cognizant of what you're taking in. Cheese, nuts, starchy vegetables. Sometimes people have to give those up for a while. And then things that they don't realize are aggravating their system. Like some people don't realize that they've never been tested for food intolerances. So they don't know that they can't have tomatoes, or, that they shouldn't eat eggplant or something like that. I would say those are the main ones. And then, I mean, I don't think I said dairy, heavy cream, like heavy whipping cream. The keto crowd loves heavy whipping.
That's my thing.
And I got to tell you, it makes a cup of coffee taste like heaven. But I mean, that's one thing that I find that people have a hard time giving up.
She's calling me out, man.
I know, she must have seen the
she
coffee.
saw my coffee.
He's hiding it right now.
Right here. There's no sweetener in it, though.
He did have it up here. Not today, at least.
I'll tell you what, it took me at least a year to get used to black coffee.
Yeah.
The first few months I was drinking black coffee, I would go get a cup of coffee, like, as that Starbucks experience became like sort of like an addiction for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I would go to Starbucks, and that whole experience of getting the, a espresso with a shot of steamed heavy cream, like I couldn't drink coffee without it. And when I decided I was going to start drinking it black, which by the way made a huge improvement for me in my health journey. The first few times I went there, I was like, oh my God, this is disgusting. This tastes like ashtray water. Why am I drinking this? It completely ruined the coffee experience, giving up heavy cream. And now I don't care if I drink it or not. I mean, I drink decaf now because I'm real sensitive to caffeine, but yeah, I don't care if I drink it or not now because there's no cream in it.
I'm sensitive to caffeine too. It's funny you said that. I do want to ask, out of those couple items that you mentioned that don't do so well for your body over time, out of the ones that didn't do well for you, what kind of things did you notice with your body that you realized that wasn't quite right, that you needed to start eliminating those things? What kind of things would happen?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't lose weight. Weight loss was a big thing for me. And then I would notice inflammation. So if I had, I never had a thing for nuts, so I didn't really care about that. Cheese would sometimes make me inflamed. Like I'd wake up in the morning and I'd have like these puffy spots on my face when I had eaten something that made me inflamed. Sweeteners, what I found is that it just, whenever I use them, they made me hungrier. So I don't really have a problem with them anymore because I'm essentially fasting until lunch. So I'm not taking in anything but water until lunchtime anyway. So, but when I was trying to incorporate fasting and I was using the sweeteners before breaking the fast, I would always get hungrier sooner. So, they say that things like monk fruit and stevia, they don't affect your blood sugar, but I think they cause an insulin response. And I think that that's why people struggle when they're trying to like change their diet and lifestyle when they won't get rid of those things.
Yeah.
Now I don't have a problem with it. So, I mean, recently, have you guys tried the Keto Chow salt product? It's an electrolyte product.
No.
It's a competitor to like LMNT, which I really like that also. But they came out with a new line of electrolyte. It's like in a little sachet kind of tube you pour it in water. And those have stevia and monk fruit in them, and they don't bother me at all. But like I said, I don't take in anything but water until lunchtime.
That's cool. You talked about hormonal issues, and that's something that we hear just a lot from influencers online. What specifically, like if someone's listening to this and they hear hormonal issues, that can mean a whole, for every person, it's going to mean something different. But can you elaborate on what things you were seeing from the hormonal perspective?
Sure. So, insulin is a hormone. So, I think that when you hear influencers talking about that, that's what they're referring to. For me personally, it was, you sure you want me to go into this?
Let's go into it.
If you're
If you're comfortable, yeah.
No, I'm fine with it. So for me, it was, my monthly cycles were just out of control, brutal. And there were times where I had to leave public places because of like a super heavy flow that I was experiencing. The other things that would happen to me, so prior to menopause, was like I'd get these hot flashes that my ears would turn bright red. And my neck would turn bright red and I'd be sweating. But that was, that was all before I found all of this. So once I started making these changes, those things went away. And then I went through menopause very late, actually. Most of my female friends went through this cycle of life in their early 50s. I didn't start to go through menopause until I was 56. And I kind of sailed through it. I didn't have any problems at all. So that hormonal dysregulation really impacted me as a woman that way. And then I'm absolutely certain that I was that my insulin was high. Absolutely. No one ever tested it. And even when I was younger, they used to test my A1C. And I'm the type of person that saves all those things. So I have lab work from 15, 20 years ago. My A1C was almost 6. No one ever said a word to me. I was pre-diabetic. No one told me. They didn't, when those things came up high, no one ever said a word, but they didn't know. So, I mean, I can't blame them. I also could have looked it up and figured it out myself, but I didn't have the wherewithal to do it then.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm going to show my daughters this because they've started their womanhood, and it's their excruciating pains where they have to miss school. And I've heard other influencers talk about when they've eliminated all the crap from their diet that it makes their cycle a lot more manageable. It is not supposed to hurt like it does. And right. These influencers that I follow, they equate it to diet. And I think it's important for it to come from people like you, and I can just show my daughters this and they can take it or leave it, So I'm glad you mentioned it. Well, Robin, I want to be respectful for your time. How can people get involved in KetoCon or Hack Your Health? Where can they get tickets? What's all the social media? Can you lay that out?
Sure. Well, the 3-day general admission ticket is on sale right now. And it will be. We raise the price every month or so leading up to the event. But the 3-day pass right now is $249. And we have a bunch of discount codes floating around out there to take $50 off of that, so they can get in for $199. The website is hackyourhealth.com. On social media, on Instagram, we're at hackyourhealth.events, and we still have the @KetoCon account, which is our most active account. We're trying to grow the hackyourhealth.events and then switch the KetoCon account over. And on Facebook, we're Hack Your Health by KetoCon. There's lots of stuff floating around, but the best place is the website. That's the best place to find us.
Okay. Well, perfect. Robin, we had a great time with you, and we appreciate your time, and we'll tag both accounts whenever this comes out, and we'll shoot you an email.
Thanks for making the time to do this. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Take care.